G'day all, it's Colin from PCTLC and thanks for joining me. In this video, this is going to be part one of a series. I don't know how many parts they're going to be or how many videos, but I'm going to be covering dual booting Linux with Windows 10. Now we're going to be looking at three different distros for this. There's a good reason why I've chosen these three distros. Ubuntu, popular distro. Linux Mint, very popular as well, and Ubuntu, which has a different installer. Linux Mint doesn't have exactly the same looking installer as Ubuntu, but it is Ubiquity. Most distros based on Ubuntu use the Ubiquity installer. Some of them do vary a bit. The main one is Ubuntu. They're a flavor of Ubuntu. So if we have a look at distros and we go down to Ubuntu, which is somewhere here, Ubuntu, and you got all the flavors. Now, most of those, some of them may vary slightly and use the same installer as Ubuntu, which is Calamares, but you will find that most of them do use the Ubiquity installer. Now, the only one that I know that's changing, which is Ubuntu based, which is normally uses the Ubiquity installer, that's now changing, is Elementary. They're working on their own installer. And of course, Pop! OS has their own installer as well. So here we are on the main page of Ubuntu. And if we go to download, you can go to Ubuntu 21.04, which is a short-term support, an interim support for 9 months. And they always do that. So they use it as like a testing platform for the changes that they've made for that until the next one comes out in 9 months. And this happens, and then we get a long-term support, I think roughly every 2 years or something like that. So that's how that works. But the main one we're going to do is 20.04, and if we click on that, that should start downloading. So it's as simple as that. And I'll leave these links in the description below. Then you got Linux Mint, their homepage here. If you go to download, hover over download and choose Linux Mint 20.2, which is the latest. And if you go to here, you can choose either Cinnamon, Mate or XFCE. I'm going to choose the Cinnamon one. And now we can download the ISO from any one of these here, or you can use the torrent here. I normally use a torrent. That's just my preference anyway. I believe torrents help reduce traffic on the website. So that's why I use torrents, make it easier. But you can use any of these which are close to you. If we choose one of these, and let's have a look what we get here. Oh, it starts downloading automatically, okay. All right, so that's how you do that. So look for your country of choice and you'll have a mirror there which will be the quickest download for your country. And then we have Ubuntu. Now don't get confused with Ubuntu. If you do a search for Ubuntu, make sure you're on ubuntu.me, because there is another Ubuntu website. I can't remember which one that is or what it is. Can't remember the address, but there definitely is another one that looks very similar, but it's a bit different. Now, if we go to here or get Ubuntu or go to downloads, and then we got the latest release, which is the 21.04, and then you got the 20.04.2, and that'll be the same with Ubuntu, although they're still advertising it on the button for 20.04. It will be the latest 20.04.2. So they have a .1 and a .2. I think they'll probably have a .3.4, I think. So instead of having to download all those updates, they spin off a new ISO. So if anyone who downloads it today doesn't have to do a huge amount of updates. I think that's what it's for anyway. So yes, in this case, with Ubuntu's case, I've used the long-term support, LTS. And with Linux Mint, I've downloaded the latest. And with Ubuntu, I'm going to be using the latest 21.04 because Ubuntu is still very early, not early in development, but they changed to Qt desktop from the LXDE desktop. So they are sort of still in that development phase, so I like to use the latest for that. Not that it really matters, we're just looking at installing at this stage. On Windows 10, I'm going to be using a VirtualBox for this. I did do this video on real hardware and the quality was absolute rubbish. You couldn't read any of these fonts or anything like that. It was pretty bad, so I decided to start the whole thing over again. That's why I probably haven't made a video for a little while. You can use Rufus to write your ISO to USB, and you can use also Balena Etcher. Now these are the two main ones that I would have to think will be the best ones to use for Windows. When it comes to Rufus, I'm not 100% sure, but I have seen in the past where some people have had errors after installing Ubuntu, and some of the errors that came up, people were reporting that it was because they, if you had written it with Rufus, that could be the reason why you got the error, and I think it wouldn't boot or something like that. Just came up with an error, and that was because it was written with Rufus. Now, I don't know if that error is still around. Just something to consider if you do have an issue with installing Ubuntu, then that could be the reason. You might want to try Balena Etcher. Now, I've already done this on real hardware, written to the USB, and actually made the videos with the USBs in real hardware, showing you how they boot and so forth. I'm going to be doing all that again as well. I wasn't really happy with the first one either, so I'm going to be doing all that again. But what I will be doing here is I will be writing the USBs with VirtualBox. I'm going to be passing through the USB in VirtualBox, which is the same as adding it on real hardware and writing to it anyway. I've already tried this with real hardware and it all works, so there shouldn't be anything different. The only thing that I had problems with was my Toshiba laptop, and for some reason I used to have a lot of trouble booting UEFI on this thing. Now I have a lot of trouble booting Legacy. So don't know why. I have no idea why that is. It's just the way it is. And I had the same problem using Etcher and the same problem using Rufus. So I'm going to start up Windows 10 and we're going to write the USBs from Windows 10. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing this with Ubuntu. I'll be using Ubuntu just to demonstrate how to start up the USB on real hardware. It doesn't really matter which one you use anyway, but I'm just going to use Ubuntu in this case. So here we are on Windows 10. So I've got two USBs here. One is a Shintaro and the other one is a Toshiba. So that's they're both, let's see, they're both 16 gigs, so that's fine. I'm going to use one with Balena Etcher and I'm going to use one with Rufus, so I don't have to come back and rewrite it. So I've already attached one of them to the virtual machine. So I'm hoping that will just come straight through. No, I don't want to format the disk. Okay, so we'll just check that out quickly. So this PC, I've got USB here, E drive, so that's that. And I've got a shared folder which has the ISOs that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to be writing Ubuntu 20.04.2 to start with. So let's do that. So I thought I had the applications on here, but I haven't. So we'll just quickly download those applications. I'm probably thinking about the applications I had on real hardware. So yes, I've changed to VirtualBox, so I haven't really got them on here, have I? So Balena Etcher. So we're going to download for Windows. You got other options here. Etcher for Linux 64-bit, 32-bit, Mac OS and Windows. So Etcher for Windows, that's what we're going to do. Don't have to, it won't allow me to select that, I don't think. Yep, so let's do that. Oh, it's already downloading. Cancel that one. And Rufus here, latest one, Rufus 3.1.4, and that's Rufus downloaded. So I think we have to install Balena Etcher, I believe. Okay, so Balena Etcher just runs, and I believe Rufus just runs as well. Oh no, we have to install Rufus, do we? Okay, so there they both go. So they're both working. All right, so we'll write the first one with Rufus. we're going to be writing, so ask you for permission. That's the 16 gig USB there. We're going to be doing a ISO, so we're going to select that, going to write it from here, Ubuntu, open that. Now the partition will be MBR, and we can target BIOS or UEFI, so we can use both. But the problem I have here is that on my Toshiba it won't boot BIOS, which is legacy. I don't know why. The only other option you got is GPT, which is just UEFI only, non-CSM. Now CSM is what this Toshiba laptop does, because I have to go, and I'll show you in future videos, but I have to go into the BIOS, change it from either UEFI or CSM. They're the options. So in this case, I'm going to write MBR BIOS UEFI. Now that's how I normally write Windows ISOs to USB as well, and my Windows ISO does not boot on legacy on this one as well. So there are issues you could come across doing these things. It's going to be FAT32. Everything else can be the same, be left as is. Volume label, I'll just leave it as is. And let's click on Start. Write in ISO image mode, yes. So it's asking us to do an update for EzeeLinux. A new version is available, just click yes. It'll download that new version as it goes. And warning, the data on the device will be destroyed, which is on the USB. Yes, we know that. Make sure you're using a USB that you don't need the data on. Yes, so that mine's listed as E and F, I think. I think that's what this is saying. Yep, so let's go OK on that one. I think it was listed as E and F. It's probably just the way it's been written to USB. So this is what you need to do. The old trusty pen. Write down Toshiba was Rufus, and the Shintaro will be Etcher. Just so I know which one's which and which one was written with which, just in case we get any errors at all. We know which one was written by which application. Okay, so that's the USB written, and we can close that now, and I will eject that USB. So eject Toshiba USB. Safe to remove hardware, let's do that. Now I don't know if this other one's going to show up. I might have to add it, may have to add it in somehow, and I don't think it will show up. I've probably got to shut down this and add it in. So let me do that. Shut this down first. Might be able to pause, I don't know. I'd prefer just to shut down anyway. Okay, so we've rebooted, I've added that USB, the Shintaro on there, and it's come up as Windows USB-E. So what we're going to do now is we're going to run Etcher. Etcher's a fairly simple program. It's simple to the point where you don't have to have any knowledge about CSM, UEFI, MBR, GPT, and all those scenarios there. It's just a simple, choose your ISO and choose your USB, and away you go. So we're going to flash from File, and we're going to find that file. Once again, we're going to be using the network. Ubuntu 20.04.2, as it says there. And if you hover over that, you can, the tooltip will tell you what it is. Select the target, which is the 15 gig E drive, F drive, so it comes up as EF. There is one hidden, which is my mass storage, which is what my other mass storage is what's running the VMs. So this VM is running off that mass storage, so I don't want to select that. So we're going to choose this one for sure, 16 gig, select that one. It's selected the 15 gig, and the mass storage here is, I think, 500 gig or something, so I doubt whether I could get that wrong. So all we have to do now is just hit the flash button. So we've selected our ISO, selected our USB, just hit flash, and away we go. And Windows will ask you to verify that. Yes. Okay, so that's the flash completed. I don't know what the deal is there, but that took quite a long time. I don't recall it taking that long on real hardware. Actually, I think Etcher was about the same speed as Rufus, so that took a while. I'll just put that down to VirtualBox at this point, I think. Okay, and what we can do there is we shall eject the disk. Well, actually, there's no disk there to eject. Very strange. Maybe it's been ejected by Etcher itself. I think it may do that. So I'll take that out. And I may, before I make any more videos moving forward, I might just check that works. I'm not convinced at this point. If it doesn't work, I'll write it on real hardware. You can have these issues on VirtualBox. But the most important thing is I show you how it's done, the procedure in doing so. At least you have the knowledge of knowing how to do that. Whether it worked or not for me in VirtualBox is irrelevant. As long as the demonstration is correct on how to do so, then that's okay. And if it doesn't work, I'll rewrite it on real hardware. So that was writing our Linux ISO to USB. Now it doesn't matter which Linux we're writing. Like I said, I'm using Ubuntu, and I'm using that just to demonstrate how I'm going to boot these USBs up on different hardware. Now I've got about 4 different computers, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've actually got 5. I might do 4. I'll try and do 5, see if we can get them all in there. That'll be a video coming up soon. But that was writing the Linux ISO to USB in Windows 10. So I shall see you in the next video, which will be part 2. And that should be a reasonably quick video. It's just going to show you how to shrink the disk to create some unallocated partition space on the disk to allow us to install our Linux distro onto that partition. So that's what the next video is going to be about. So I shall see you in part 2.